Hello. Today our group will be discussing the topic of leadership. Our group members are myself, Rashaka, Jun, Vincent, Linda, and Kehan. Let me first start by defining leadership. Leadership is a process in which the leader and follower interact in a way that enables the leader to influence the actions of the follower in a non-coercive way towards achieving certain aims and objectives. Essentially, leadership is about influencing and changing behavior of employees in order to create a more productive and successful environment and accomplish common goals without formal authority. So, as a multidisciplinary group, we identified leadership as extremely important in the evolving and multifaceted nature of our industries and the workforce. Without effective leadership, most industry companies would remain dormant and have difficulty moving forward. The theories we will be discussing today are the trait theory, the behavioral theory, the contingency theory, and we will be focusing on the transformational and transactional leadership styles of the outcome theory.
We will now discuss the main theories of leadership. One of the first models is the trait approach, which focuses on identifying the personality traits of an effective leader. Also sometimes referred to as the great person theory, it assumes that leaders are born, not made, and thus the traits of a great leader are intrinsic. Stroebel, one of the first researchers in this area, identified that a good leader is intelligent, persistent, and sociable. As new surveys were conducted, more and more traits were identified, and over time, it became evident that all the leaders did not have common traits, and sometimes even contradicting traits. That is why the behavioral models of leadership were developed to offer a new perspective. These models focus on the behaviors of leaders instead of their traits. One of them are the Ohio State studies, which identify two distinct and independent types of leader behaviors: consideration and initiating structure. Leaders who are high on consideration are concerned with the needs and aspirations of the employees and prefer to build good relationships with their followers, whereas leaders who are high on initiating structure focus on organizing work to give structure to the work context. Later on, the situational approach was developed, which says that different leadership styles will have different outcomes depending on the nature of the situation. One of them is Fiedler's contingency model, which states that situations can be described by three factors: leader-member relations, task structure, and position power. Depending on whether these factors are high or low, different leadership orientations and styles should be adapted. Finally, we'll have a look at transactional and transformational leadership. Transactional leaders focus on the exchange between leaders and followers. They work on influencing employees towards more effective performance by motivating them to change their behavior, for example, by awarding them promotions for good performance. Transformational leadership emphasizes the connection between leader and followers that raises the level of motivation and morality in both parts. This style of leadership influences employees to accept new value systems and motivates them to accomplish goals. In our presentation, we will focus on transactional and transformational leadership.
As we know, transformational leaders have great ability to influence organizational commitment by promoting the values which are related to the goals accomplished, by emphasizing the relation between the employee's efforts and the goal achievement. Today we take banking sector for this study because of regulation interaction between leaders and employees in it. And in this case, they choose employees aged from 25 to 55 in both female and male. From the analysis below, results in Table 3 shows the significance of relationship between independent variables and dependent variables. The results show that if one unit change in independent variables, which is the transformational leadership, and there would be 0.7 change in dependent variables, the effective commitment. Based on the analysis of bank sector, findings shows that there is a significant relationship between leadership and the organizational commitment. It also indicates that transformational leadership styles strongly affect employees' vision and their mission towards their organization in daily cooperation. It also shows the independent effect of all dimensions of the transformational leadership. Therefore, the need for leaders to fully understand the competency necessary to become a successful leader. And meanwhile, It is becoming increasingly important due to the rapid changes and innovations in today's market.
Timothy et al. In 2004 conducted a meta-analytic test to estimate the validities of two kinds of leadership, as well as correlation between each criterion and leadership styles. There are 6 criteria. These include follower job satisfaction, follower satisfaction with leader, follower motivation, leader job performance, organizational performance, and leader effectiveness. There are 4 parameters we are looking at in this result, and I would like to focus on p-value, which is estimated through score correlation, and t-value, which is the difference between the correlations and two leadership styles. By analyzing the data, transformational leadership shows higher validity on follower satisfaction with leader and leader effectiveness than transactional leadership. It is shown by having higher p-value and positive t-value. On the other hand, transactional leadership shows a stronger correlation with follower job satisfaction and leader job performance with their parameters. To conclude the study, the meta-analytic study demonstrates correlation between different criteria and leadership styles. And it tells each leadership style has distinctive strengths, which enhance organizational performance.
Now to look at a comparative case study of how these theories pan out in practice. The case study compares the CEOs of AirAsia and Malaysian Airlines. First, we will look at the transformational leader, Tony Fernandez, CEO of AirAsia. As a leader, he focuses on sustaining a good organizational culture. He does so by stressing the importance of teamwork through open communication, lack of hierarchical structure, and his own approachability. Fernandez prioritizes the employees' passion and dreams. By having this focus, he ensures that the employees are both motivated in and inspired by their role in the company. Idris Jala initially used a transactional leadership style to run Malaysian Airlines. He saw fit to do this as he was attempting to bring Malaysian Airlines back from bankruptcy, and his main objective was to simply keep the carrier flying. He micromanaged and used KPIs as anchors and was very much a directive leader. However, once he was able to focus into reinventing Malaysian Airlines, there was a natural shift from transactional to transformational leadership. In order to promote unity amongst employees, he needed to empower them and motivate them towards the common objective of rebuilding the company. The new framework he applied aligned with 4 dimensions of transformational leadership: influence, intellect, inspiration, and individual. In this quote seen by Idris Jala, we see an amalgamation of both the virtues of transactional and transformational leadership. There is an emphasis on both the empowerment of employees as well as leadership responsibility. The comparison between these two leaders emphasizes that appropriate leadership styles depend on the situation, level of inertia, and changes that happen within the organization. In the end, both CEOs thrived using the transformational leadership style. They brought together elements of creativity and charisma, ethics and transparency in leading their companies. So what are the advantages? Transformational leadership allows free decision-making, stimulating employee creativity. The empowerment of employees allows for responsibility redistribution. Overarchingly, it creates a united work community by encouraging open relationships. Transactional leadership has a more structured approach with short-term achievable goals, clear instructions that set defined responsibilities and measurable outputs. Regardless of how, both styles aim to improve efficiency and output. Conversely, what are the disadvantages? Transformational leadership is susceptible to high risk-taking, which can be uncalculated. The openness of this style can lead to unclear boundaries where responsibility cannot be prescribed and merit cannot be rightfully awarded. Transactional leadership often leads to a lack of motivation amongst employees, as the robotic nature can seem insensitive to their needs. This is exacerbated as communication does not flow as freely as a transformational leadership style. Both these leadership styles can drive a company culture, or conversely, can be driven by the company culture. However, Transformational leadership is more successful as it acknowledges that employees are individuals with their own passions and motivations, which is valued in today's workforce.